Hello and welcome to Valley Girls, the bi-weekly podcast exploring everything there is to see, do, try, eat, and experience in New York's Hudson Valley by talking to the makers, the doers, the growers, the creators, and all the unique voices of the Hudson Valley. I'm Jenny Leifer.
And I'm Jennifer Santiago, and together as the Valley Girls, we're telling the Hudson Valley story one episode at a time. We're so happy you're here. We've got a special treat. We are talking to David Leifer, the owner of David Leifer Photography, who recently did some new headshots for the Valley Girls. So David does a lot of photography here in the Hudson Valley, wedding, engagement shoots, a lot of high school senior portraits. So we're coming up on holiday time. We know people are going to be looking to either just get family photos from end of the year gatherings or maybe even make holiday cards. So Dave, we need your professional advice. So first of all, you've got this beautiful studio and lighting and backdrops and professional camera equipment. We don't have that. So what tips can you give us if we're super basic, probably just using our phone or a really basic camera? So we're amateur photographers, but we want to get some really great shots during holiday time. What should we be thinking about?
Well, there's a couple things we look at. We look at the lighting where the sun's coming in. I'm a big component of not having too much orange lighting in this scenario, but making sure your background's totally clean. There's not a lot of clutter in the background, stuff that you don't want to see. And I know there's all this AI technology that we deal with now as photographers, but we try and push past the AI unless we really want to do something really funky with our AI technology. Just basically making sure you have the right settings and everything else like that on your phone. All these phones now have the pro models, basically all about lighting when it comes to photography.
Do you think it's better to have like more natural sunlight or on the cloud? I've heard cloudy days sometimes it's better lighting.
Cloudy days is great, as you won't have to squint as much when you're outside.
Okay.
As professional photographers come in, we can come in with these giant strobes, really knock some really beautiful light to the subject. As you saw, coming to the studio, of all the lighting I could use, and flashes, strobes, and anything else like that I can use.
So what if I'm taking pictures inside and it's night outside? So do I want like overhead lights on? Do I want lamp light? What's the best?
Overhead lights actually do not do well with camera lighting, just because it makes it more of an orangey color when you come to print the color.
And there's probably more shadows, right? Like if it's coming from above.
Yeah, more shadows. So you can use the flash, and the flash will actually turn it into a nice bright color.
Okay.
I was laughing when you were saying make sure you have a clean background with no clutter, because I will always zoom in on people's pictures on the internet and look at all the sus stuff in their background. Or if there are books in the background, I have to zoom in. I have to see the titles on the spines of all the books.
It's so true. And you know what? I'm glad you said that, because Matt, I know you're going to be listening to this. This is why whenever we take pictures inside the house, I either make you move in front of, like, make Andrew or the kids move in front of a solid surface, or I have to like clear the background so you can't see what's behind the photographer taking the picture. That's where all the clutter is. But I always want to move all my clutter. Not that I have any, of course. Move all my clutter. No, I don't ever have any clutter in my house. I want to move all my clutter before I take that picture, because I feel like I notice that too. Not in a judging way, but I always want to see what's back, and it kind of takes.
In a judging way, though, sometimes.
Well, not really, but I mean, okay. But it's more of like, I'm curious, and it just takes my attention away from the person. I think that's probably more it than anything. It's just like you want the focus of the shot to be the person you're taking the picture of. So that makes a lot of sense. And David, you have a really nice like backdrop. When we came to your studio, we had that white backdrop, but I'm sure you could do different backdrops also.
We recently just ordered some nice backdrops for more Christmas seasons and stuff like that. And, colored castle background drowns, cloth backdrops that make you look like you're in a castle or in a forest or something like that.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Ooh, I want to be in a castle.
If this little clip does make it on YouTube, just want to let everybody know I did not plan this wearing the red shirt with the green background to make this all about Christmas. It was a complete accident. So,
Festive.
yeah, it is. Okay, so what about if we have to be in front of the camera instead of the one taking pictures for ourselves? We put off having headshots for a really long time because we both sort of hate having seeing pictures of ourselves. And I feel like I never really know how to pose. I don't know what the right angles are. You were so good at posing us and prompting us, whether it was, turning our chins or lifting our chins and or lift your chin, now turn a little bit, now bring it down a little bit, angling the upper body, shifting the hips a little bit, 1 foot forward, whatever that was. Do you have any good advice how to look best in our pictures?
It's how the background is going to look when you pose your subject, how you look in the background, because it all depends on how you shoot the angles and stuff like that, what you're going for, and
So like when you had us behind in front of that like just white backdrop, that's where it's like you were saying something. Tell us about how you had us do like the hips turned a certain way or what where our feet should be.
yeah, I'm getting more depth of the upper body when it's a headshot. I'm focusing more on the head than the entire body, like that. So I'm getting more depth and more of the background blown out and less in focus of just the actual face and just in focusing on the headshot itself.
Yeah, I'm looking for slimming. I want to look like I'm slimmer and I want to look like I have only a single chin. So what are my best tips for that?
And what should we do with our chin to not have that double chin? Do we want to stick our chin out a little bit?
You want to pull it out. One of my things I love doing with the kids in the headshot industry is you want to play with their heads and make them feel like they're being fishing on a fishing line coming towards the camera.
Ah.
Okay, so kind of more forward.
We're both
We're both
doing it
doing it
now.
now. I know we have to show this video. So kind of having it's not so much your chin forward, because then I guess people probably lift because like when I think chin up,
Right.
I think like my whole head goes back. But you're right. So
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
more of
yeah,
like extending the head out
yep,
from the neck.
yep,
Okay. I think you
Hmm.
did say that, right? You said extend the head out, but then tilt the chin down like just a tiny bit.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I'm sure it's hard to describe in words, right? Because it's got to be
Yeah,
just your eye. Like for somebody else, it
yeah,
might be turn your head just slightly to the left. For somebody else, it might be
yeah.
a little bit more down. I mean, the shape of the face, I'm sure, has a lot to do with that.
I go by the scenario of where we are, of what we're doing, and things like that, and how what we're looking for, whether it be when I go out and shoot my engagement shots with my couples or my couple portraits with a lot of my couple friends. It's all I look at the different angles that we're shooting towards or what they're going for as the background.
Oh, right. Whether you're doing like a solid background or you have like nature in the background or something like that.
Yep, yep,
So in general, if you were taking a full length shot of me, I don't want to be facing you directly, right? I should be
yeah,
angled
angled in, yep,
like 45-degree
yep.
angle with my whole
Like a 40,
body.
like yeah, yep, 45-degree angle. It gives you a little more depth into the field, and gives you a little more depth in the picture itself.
All
Yeah,
right.
that does
Do
make
I want to
sense.
do I want to pop my hip forward and put my weight on
Depend
my back foot?
Depends on where we're posing you. It all depends on
Mm.
what I'm using to pose people on, whether it be a log or a bridge or something like that, or the handrail from a bridge or something like that. Because a lot of times when I am out there shooting, especially here in Kingston, New York, I go to this place called the Kingston Rotary Park and shoot there, and there's a bridge. I use the bridge rails a lot of times to help pose people.
Yeah, I love
Mm.
the
Oh, that's
shots. I
smart.
love the shots that you've
Yeah.
taken down there. That's great. And then I've even seen like, I don't know how true this is, but you see these reels, right? Like TikTok, Instagram, whatever, like tips for better photos. And they always say like have some kind of triangle, whether it's with your leg or with your arm.
Yep.
Is that like a standard thing to have some sort of
That's a standard thing, but I don't really look for it. I look for how it looks for me in the
yeah.
camera and how it's going to come to post process and how it's going to look in the final image.
See, that makes a lot more sense. I try to follow these tips and then I just look really posed. So like the way that you had us doing it,
Yeah.
right? Like when you do it, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, let me think about this. My right foot, my foot's forward, but I'm putting my weight in my back leg and I'm
Yeah.
hand on the hip. And all of a sudden I look like I'm a little teapot,
Well, because
like,
my photography style is also documentary style, where I'm capturing because I do a lot of capturing the moment in the moment, like especially at weddings and engagements. I'm capturing all those moments as they happen
right.
instead of
More candid,
posing
more candid.
or candid stuff.
Okay. Well,
Mm.
that's interesting.
That is.
Well, you did so great with us. We had such a good time. We were so nervous about
Appreciate it.
it. And we, like I said, we have put this off for so long because we just hate seeing pictures of ourselves. And the cool thing was the way you did it, having us be able to see them right away. They showed up on that iPad that you had so that we could kind of
Yeah.
say, oh, we like that shot. But really, they all like, I don't know what kind of magic voodoo you did, but like whatever angle it was just the right angle. And I mean, besides the fact that we just had a ball doing it and we laughed most of the time, um, it really was really amazing how you could just do these tiny little tweaks, and I guess it is just through your eye. So,
Yeah, no, it's throughout. One of the things we have what we call in our professional cameras we have called tethering, and I was actually Wi-Fi tethering it to an iPad, so as I'm shooting, it comes right to my editing software, so I can see what I'm looking for. And there's when you shoot through the camera and you're looking at the actual back camera, it's a processed JPEG.
mm,
So, but when you turn it to when I turn it to the iPad or my laptop, wherever I'm tethering it to, or I'm sending the image to, so I'm live shooting sometimes. Um, it's the actual image coming that I see straight out of the camera, and nothing that's been touched, no processing or anything like that in the JPEGs or anything like
got it.
that. And in the photography world, we have two little things we call raw, which is what we get out of the camera. Our photographers process as, and then JPEGs. But on the back of the camera is what you're getting is a small compressed JPEG of what it would look like as it was
Hmm.
processed before we turn it into our full final image. For all our touch ups, or all our all whatever saturation colors we want to add, or anything else like that. Whatever images we want it to finally look like, to make sure we're shooting it like we're shooting it on our website, to show off our work and things like that.
Yeah, you have some really cool stylized photos that I've seen you do of sunsets and things like that. The colors that you make pop are just awesome. What
Yeah.
do you think is um like a golden, like I know there's like the golden hour. Do you think like if you are going to be out on a sunny day, should the sun be higher in the sky, wait till it's a little lower?
Well, when photographers go out and shoot, we look for we do not shoot in high noon, 12 o'clock time. It's directly over our heads, which causes us to get shadows right under the eyes. There's a lot of squinting. We can't really control the lighting, so we have times of the day we love shooting.
Hmm.
Early morning sunrise. We love the early morning sunrise coming up. Um, Anytime before like 10:30, 11 o'clock, we can shoot because we can control the lighting from the back, or after 3 to sunset. And then sunset is another time we like to shoot. And then we always love when it's totally dark out as photographers, because that's where we really get creative with our gels and this and fog and smoke and LED lights. We can fire LED lights off that are amazing, high power, that overpower anything. As it is right now, one of my LED lights can actually overpower the sun 3 times brighter than the sun itself.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So you can control that.
So if we're doing sunrise time, do I want to be facing towards the sunrise, or do I want the sun rising behind me or off to
Not
the side?
sunrise either behind you or off to the side, and with a little light in front of your face.
Mm, makes sense.
Because we basically, when we shoot, we we expose when we shoot, when we're going to trying to get to the clouds, the dramatic clouds, instead of doing it post processing, we're exposing for the background itself. So we use our lights to expose for the subject.
Oh, okay. That is so fascinating. There's so much to it. There's just, and you have to just, I'm sure some of it, I mean, for the level that you do, of course, there has to just be some artistic instinct to it, I'm sure, like what you're seeing in your eye. But I think that you made a point about the JPEG, the compressed JPEGs, because I mean, to get technical, even when I'm doing the audio producing for the podcast and I'm trying to do things, knowing that it's a compressed audio versus not a compressed audio, you lose some of the quality
Mm.
Yeah,
when it's compressed. That's how you're compressing it, right? You can make it a smaller file. The more quality, the
yeah,
higher the file. So I'm sure it's the same thing with visual than it is with the
yeah.
audio.
I mean, there's 3 different settings on the back of a camera. There's the RAW, C RAW, and JPEG. A lot of photographers will shoot in C log if they're transferring files to another photographer in the raw format who just want the raw, but you're losing a lot of that raw. The raw is full data of every
Mm.
piece of image, lighting, background, color, blacks, whites, whatever, shadows, highlights. And then there's the JPEG where we're losing a lot of the data. If we touch it, we mess up the
Mhm.
whole data of the image itself.
And that's why you always say it's such a large file. It's not like you can just be like, "Oh, I'll just text you the image," because it's such a large file. Each picture is a large file.
Yeah, we're like, send
Yeah,
those to us. And he's like,
I
I
can't.
can't. I have to do all this stuff on my computer first.
And I never understood that, but now this makes so much sense now, and that's why you were saying, like, just putting it on a hard drive, like an external hard drive, a thumb drive, something like that, that has a lot of, like, let's say, like, a 2 terabyte or something like that, that would be able to hold it
yeah,
because they're not compressed images and they have all the data to them.
yeah. I mean, that's why a lot of these photographers say, you know, no, no client can open the raw image unless they have the right software. Where
Yeah.
we have the right software, open it, turn it into a JPEG. Once it is a JPEG, then you'll be able to open it in any photo program you want or
Right.
any.
But that's after you've captured what you want to capture from the raw, and then it can be turned into a JPEG.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep,
That makes a lot more sense. You also said something else that it was interesting about how when you're looking at the back of the camera, you were saying the JPEG, but when we looked at the iPad, it was the raw. One of the things that I know it's not so much the same, but whenever the Valley Girls go on our adventures, Jen is the roving photographer and she always has her iPad with her. And I would say not only does it take great pictures, but it's so nice to be
Yeah.
able to see the image on the full screen of an iPad. We're so used to now, like with our digital cameras and phones and things like that, of just seeing this tiny little image, but you can't
yep.
really see what you're going to get out of that picture. So that would be another thing that, just from my experience, I think would be a great tip for people. If you have an iPad, I would have never thought to take pictures with an iPad. I always just use my phone, or back in the day when I used more of my digital camera. But if you have an iPad, it takes all of the pictures you see, whether it's our Instagram or the YouTube montages that Jen's put together. Those are all taken from her iPad, which she also has a really great, she won't admit it, but she has a great eye for light and angles, like
I
especially food photography. Um,
do love
because
food.
because she loves food, and I get that. But yeah, having it on the iPad is so much more impressive because you can really see it a lot clearer. So that would be something that I would suggest to people if they're doing their own photography, is try it on an iPad because it's pretty incredible.
So here's my big takeaway. So we also talked to Bentley Potter, who's a photographer. We talked to him in an early episode on season 1, and now here talking to David Leifer. I love photography, and I feel like we've all gotten a little spoiled with having our iPads or iPhones or Android devices, which have amazing cameras. And
Exactly.
so I think we all fancy ourselves a bit of photographers
Mm,
now
mhm.
in the digital world. But so whenever I talk to a professional photographer like David or Bentley, I'm like, give me some tips. And like wanting like as if there were a list of 5 things you can do for better photos. Like you were talking about, Jenny, the reels that you see on
Yeah,
TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and they do give you tips. But talking to Bentley and now talking to David, they almost can't put it
right.
into words because there is something that's just like David just has the eye for it.
Hmm.
Just even the angles that he captured of us, or the ways that he moved our chin or face, and I'm like, I wouldn't have thought that. So I think that my takeaway is go out there with your phone or your iPad or whatever, take pictures, have fun, but there really is no substitute if you're really serious about having family photos to last a lifetime, or you want to do a holiday card, or your senior portrait, your wedding. I don't care how many of your friends come to your wedding with their phones. There's really no substitute for a professional photographer who has that eye, who has the editing software, who knows the lighting. So I love to take pictures, but also I'm very cognizant that photography, it can be a great hobby, but it's also really an art form. And I think we underestimate how much professional photographers can add to our pictures, for especially for special occasions.
A hundred
Yeah, yeah.
percent.
I mean that's why a lot of my contracts, a lot of my weddings are cell phone free ceremonies.
Mm,
Mm,
We don't want to be the ones capturing the cell phones in the middle of the photos, some uncle or aunt stepping up and capturing a moment and
yeah.
that. So we try and with having it, a lot of the photographers nowadays in our ages having cell in their contracts, no cell phones, no cameras, no laptops, no nothing. During, especially during the ceremony, and when even during the reception, I tell the DJ or the band to make an announcement, please have everyone turn off their flashes, other
mm,
other cell
mhm.
phones, I don't mind them using their cell phones, but please turn off your flashes because it will bounce off my flash and screw up some of my photos.
That's
Hmm.
so interesting.
That's also an interesting thing. So, Jenny,
Yes.
in college, you had a friend, Mike,
Mm-hmm.
who I will never forget this. I don't know why this always stuck to me. Mike did not believe in taking pictures of
Mm-hmm.
things because he thought when you take pictures, you are disengaging from the experience. Because instead of being there in the moment, engaging with it with your senses, you're evaluating it from the lens, literally, of your camera, and it like puts a barrier between you and the people you're there with or the setting you're in. And I always think about that. So for me, it's a little bit opposite. Some ways I feel like because I'm taking a picture, especially if I'm trying to capture something for like Valley Girls Media social or something, I feel like I am sometimes more mindful and I notice things or angles that I wouldn't if I weren't looking to capture them. But I just think that that's neat that people are willing to go with the photographer's recommendation to make their weddings or special occasions cell phone free, because how much more fun are you having if you're just there toasting and eating and having cake and dancing rather than feeling like, oh, I've got to be capturing this the whole time. I got to make sure that I have great pictures. And yes, people want the immediacy. They want to put it up on social media. But there is something to be said for just saying, you said this in our art episode, you were like, I got to just wander around because I knew Jen was going to take a
Yes.
million pictures, and so I didn't have to. So
Yes.
it's interesting how you engage based on whether or not you feel like you have to capture the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that even at concerts, right? Like now we all want to take out our phones and record our favorite song that's, being performed live. But when you don't do that, you are so
Yep.
much more engaged. For me, and this is a big conversation that Matt and I have all the time. That was such a great memory that you have that. But I totally forgot about that conversation with Mike. But you're right. Like that's the way that Matt feels too. He takes pictures, but he'll take a few and then put it away because he feels like if he's just taking pictures constantly, you're totally disengaging from the moment. And, you talk about mindfulness and being in the moment, and you can't do that. And that's why people hire photographers for something like a wedding or for family portraits, so that you don't have to be the one trying to
Mm-hmm.
find that perfect angle, trying to find that perfect thing. And you can just relax and enjoy the moment of it. But I do, for as I, not that I'm that old, but as I age and I am getting more and more forgetful, I do like having just those couple of things, if I'm somewhere and there's not a professional photographer, taking a few snapshots, but then I really am trying to work on balancing, then put the phone away for the rest of the time. But yeah, I totally agree with that. And I also like what you said about like how David and Bentley, it is so interesting. And again, this is not something we had planned on, but just as we're interviewing two separate photographers who happen to know each other and are good friends, by the way, that really, truly, it is so hard. And not to say that all those reels are not true or that they're not good tips, but it really is so hard for a professional photographer to say, okay, here's a blanket statement. Here's how to make yourself not look like you have a double chin. Here's how to make yourself stand out more, or get the right angle. It depends on the body type. It depends on the background, like he's saying, the depth of field, all of these
Yeah.
things that we don't take into consideration. We just want someone to tell us, how do I look skinny and how do I look like a model? That's really what I want to know. And
Yeah.
it's not so easy to do that because there are so many different, even skin color, right? I'm sure that changes. Like when you're photographing somebody with darker skin, the lighting has to be different. So you can't really have a blanket statement. And yeah, it's so funny. I remember talking about this after we talked to Bentley, like, wow, that was really hard to give us like, how do you capture the perfect sunset? And I remember Bentley's answer was something like, it's just about the eye. It's just about seeing. You'll
Yeah.
know when you see it. And
And that's kind of how I think we
yeah,
underestimate the art of photography, because
agreed.
you wouldn't go to Enrica Martin and say, how do you make a cake taste so good?
Right.
And she'd be like, well, I use flour and sugar, salt,
Yes.
eggs, oil, like everybody else. But like there's a, sorry for being corny, but there's like a je ne sais quoi. Like there's a little extra because she's a professional baker. She's an artist. She has perfected her craft. Like she puts her heart and soul into it in a different way. And so to think that you can pin down a photographer to tell you, like, here's 5 ways to take great pictures every single time, no matter what the light is like, and no matter whether you have a dark complexion or you're super pale, it doesn't exist.
And that,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
absolutely. And I think that that's kind of the thing, is like, there's no, again, that's a great analogy, because you wouldn't say like, well, why, well, but this was a cup of flour. Now we're using a cup and a half of flour just because it's a different type of baked good. But there is no one recipe. It depends on what you're trying to get out of it, right? So to use that cooking or baking analogy, it depends on, are you inside or are you outside? What's your background? What coloring are you doing? What are you looking for? What's your focus? Is it a headshot, a full body shot? And who is the person, who is the subject? So there is no one recipe for how to get the best shots. It
and
really
I mean,
depends on
I,
that.
I mean, even especially working with, when I do a lot of young kids portraits,
Hmm.
headshots, models, and stuff like that in the city. When I travel down the city for this, um, a lot of the analogy we have to use as a photographer is in the terms of a kid who will understand what we're saying, instead of saying, okay, just smile. No, no, no. They're not going to just smile on cue. We use analogies of like, you know, food or what they love to eat, and have them say that, and it just brings out the natural expression that of that little smirk of them when they say that one little word or something like that.
Yes.
I think that's what you're really good at.
Yes.
And I mean, also, obviously, you know us. Jenny's your sister, and I've known you for 30 years. But I
Spoiler.
feel like you really captured our essence in those headshots. Like, we're us, we're goofy. Like, I feel
Hmm.
like our personalities came through. And a lot of times with a posed photograph, I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know what to do with my face. And I'm like, I know that's my face, but that doesn't
No,
look
it
like
brings out the
me. But the
That
pictures
personality.
that you did,
Yeah.
you captured us.
Y-
one of the benefits of my sessions, I've gotten a lot of are from is, you know, some photographers say, all right, meet me in this location at this one spot. I don't want to meet you at this one spot. I want to walk to the location with you to that spot, get to know who you are, get to know who your personality, as I'm
Mm.
walking, get to feel for you. So I know, all right, we're going to be able to do this. No, we're not going to be able to do that. Especially you get the shy high school senior girls who are who really don't want to do it because their mom's making them do it. You get them to laugh a little bit. One of my favorite things to do during a session, I play music through a speaker, and I that's why I ask my clients, "What's your favorite song?"
right.
Stuff
It
like
helps
that.
relax them, I'm sure, if they're listening to music they like. Yeah.
So I make a playlist to actually their songs, and let them listen to their music through my Spotify. Or if I'm working with a model, I'll let them connect to my Bluetooth speaker and say, "Hey, play your playlist, play your music," and it brings out some of the greatest shots we've ever got just by the music being in the background. And then they see that, oh, this is not as bad as they think it is. As far as just going out there shooting with a photographer who doesn't play music or is going over there, or
Hmm.
Well, they don't take the time to get to know you, and how are you supposed to capture someone's personality if they don't know you? So that's something you're great at in life in any way, is being friendly and getting to know people's personality, just having that friendly soul. But that's so important in the work that you do.
That's a super important point when you're going to make the investment of hiring a
Yeah.
professional photographer for an occasion. You want to make sure that you take the time to develop a rapport
Hmm.
with that person, because I aren't there certain cultures that don't like to have their photo taken because they
Yes.
feel like the camera
Captures
captures
a
their
soul.
soul.
Yep.
I mean, some photographers won't even do a wedding interview. They on their websites I see these days. Here's the contract. Here's my deposit money. Send me my thing. And
Mm,
that thing. Part of my process of a wedding is sitting down for 25 to 30 minutes before they sign the
yeah.
contract with both bride and groom, uh, and seeing, all right, is this going to be a right fit for me? Are they going to be able to have my high energy level all 8 hours, 10 hours, however many hours they're hiring me for the day, opposed to, all right, they're just hiring a photographer. They sign the contract. They know that they like their work. A lot of photographers only do an engagement session for an 8 hour package. All my 4 to 10 hour packages all include an engagement session. Doesn't matter what package you get for your wedding. If you're doing a 4 package, you're getting an engagement session. If you're doing a 6 hour, you're getting it. If you do an 8 hour, you're doing an engagement session.
Well, and that adds on to that whole, like, if nothing else, you're getting to know them during that engagement session. So when it gets to the day of their wedding, you already have a sense of their personalities and their interaction with each other. So that really has got to help. And you've taken some such cool shots, different poses, different things. And I love that, the people, obviously it depends on who hires you, but you have done some really diverse things, whether it's different cultures, you've done LGBTQ weddings, you've done all of these different diverse things. And it really depends. It's not like a cookie cutter, like, okay, this is how we are going to do this wedding. It really, every single one, the one you did of my friend Christine from nursing school, that captured her personality
No,
so well, that wedding that you did. And at the time you didn't even know she was my friend, but he just got hired by her. And I'm like, wait a minute, I know her. But the other thing I was going to say is the way you just said that about the smiling, two things I want to say about that. There was a photographer that approached me when the kids were really young. They're 20 now. When they were probably 4 or 5, I was ironically in a photo store, art craft photo, and I had them. This is back when before everybody was taking pictures with their smartphones, so I had to go and I wanted to print out certain digital photos for my camera. We were there, and a photographer approached me with the twins and said, "I would love to take pictures of these kids." It turned into we became friendly, and we did a whole photo shoot. And one of the things that she saw was that, okay, sure, they're good looking kids and they're photogenic and all of this, but she still wasn't really capturing. She felt like she wasn't capturing their essence, or they didn't know her, and they're little kids. So they were not like softening up. They're not like professional models. They didn't know how to do it. And their older brother, Brennick, was there behind her. And he just started like doing silly things to make them laugh. And he was just taking that personality, he was bringing their personality out in them. Those were the best pictures that she snapped, of the ones where Brennick was bringing out their personality because they were just naturally smiling at him. And that was really cool to see that you're right. It was like if you, and that's the other thing I was going to say, when you told me when we were doing the headshots, you said, like, obviously I'm smiling, you don't have to tell me to smile, but I'm smiling. And you said, relax your smile. And I realized, like, yeah, it's this like forced, it wasn't me. It was like, and I do that in every picture. And then like my eyes are squinty and my cheeks are too high. And I'm so critical of my own pictures, but nobody ever said that. And that was like, not like open your eyes more. You could see that it was just, if you just relax your smile, just let it be natural. Naturally, my eyes were just more open and you could see my eyes more. And that's the stuff I think that it's hard to give tips for, because like you said, Jen, it's underestimating like the talent, the skill, the training, the experience of, he knew exactly what to say to get my face to just relax, to just more natural, instead of this like cheesy grin that I
Mhm.
had on. And that picture looked more like me than any picture I've had done in a long time. Or if somebody's just naturally like the ones that
Yeah.
we were cracking up doing those cheesy like old prom photo poses that we were doing. Those are some of the best pictures because
We need to put some of those up on the
we
website.
do. They came out really good. Jen and I were yes, we were prom dates for some of these pictures and it was fantastic. But we were naturally laughing and smiling and those came out so great. So yeah, this was so great. So thank you.
yeah,
Well, so also my last question is, so I'm always very I love small business owners, and I will always prioritize shopping local, shopping small. And I'm always really scared of wasting somebody's time when they're a small business owner. But what I'm hearing from you, because you put such a high priority on developing that rapport, is that it's okay for me as a customer, especially if I'm planning something really big and important like a wedding. It's okay for me to interview some photographers, and then maybe I feel like, I had a better rapport with that guy than this one. And so like, you feel okay about that? That sometimes people might meet you and you might do an exploratory conversation?
yeah. I mean, I always say talk to your photographer, set up even a 5 minute coffee meeting at Starbucks if you want to meet in person, or Zoom, or or even FaceTime, whatever, however you want to do it, before, not even just a phone call, because you want to see them face to face and get to know them personality.
Yeah, because it might not be a good fit for them either, right? It has to be somebody who's going to be able to draw that out in them.
Yeah.
So if people do want to engage your services, where can they find you? Do you have a website?
Yep. I'm on Facebook at David Leifer Photography, Instagram David Leifer Photography, TikTok David Leifer Photography, YouTube David Leifer Photography, and my website is theleiferphotography.com. Just hit that contact button and we'll be able to help you out. And we'll also be starting our Christmas portraits, so book early. Of course, high school seniors. We are pushing for our high school seniors.
Awesome. So just for anyone who is not familiar with our last name, it's Leifer. It gets spelled misspelled a lot. So that's David Leifer Photographer, David Leifer Photography. You can check that out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and the website was D Leifer Photography. Again, Leifer. Dave, thanks so much for being here. And I can't wait to see the rest of the pictures from our photo shoot because
Yes.
it was just a blast. And the ones I've seen, we absolutely love. So thank you.
Yep. Not a problem. Thank you guys.
Thank
Thank you. And
you.
thank you to everyone for listening. Please like and subscribe, rate and review, because as we know, it all helps tremendously. Do you love the Valley Girls? Tell a friend. Have ideas for the podcast? Tell us. The easiest way to chat with us is our Facebook group, Valley Girls Podcast Pod Squad, or you can contact us through our website, valleygirlspodcast.com, where you can also sign up for our newsletter so you never miss a thing. And of course, we're on Instagram at Valley Girls Pod NY. We can't wait to hear from you. Oh, and do you love our theme music as much as we do? The music for this episode is by Robert Burke Warren, entitled Painting a Vast Blue Sky, and can be found on his album Redheaded Friend, available on iTunes and Spotify, and at the link in the show notes. Bye for now.